What's up, you guys? Coming back at you all with another Commander video. This is either going to be Commander Secrets Continued or Commander Tips. I want to kind of take the series in a whole nother direction where I go over some more underrated Commander options and just give some advice on how to make those much better. Because not a lot of people know how these Commanders work out. They may seem too simple or they may not seem interesting enough. So hopefully by explaining their interactions or what they're capable of, more people will feel inclined to play with these Commanders. The first one I'm going to do here is Daxos the Return. This was voted on, by the way, by my patrons. Gave them a few options. If you're interested in participating in polls for my channel, the link to my Patreon will be in the description box below. But Daxos the Return is really sweet. He's just 3 mana in Orzhov colors for a 2/2 legendary zombie soldier. Whenever you cast an enchantment spell, you get an experience counter. So obviously he's from Commander 2015, where the experience counter thing was a big deal. And this one is very simple, I will say that. You just pay 3 mana, put a white and black spirit enchantment creature token onto the battlefield. It has this creature's power and toughness are equal to the number of experience counters you have. So no matter when you put that token out there, if you end up with 10 experience counters, it's going to be a 10/10. So that is the really cool thing about it. It's not like it's going to put a 1/1 out there and it's just going to be a 1/1 when you use the ability. So the fact that these can get bigger as the game goes on is definitely one of the reasons why I would recommend Daxos, because just token decks in general, they can be kind of repetitive and boring. This one is capable of getting bigger tokens out there, and it rewards you with those experience counters. And obviously, to get the experience counters, you want to fill your deck with as many enchantments as you can. The best way to do that is to mix it up and throw in some good utility ones, such as Ghostly Prison, Phyrexian Arena, or even just a good old land tax. These are all very valuable ones that you could throw into a black-white enchantment deck. While they don't necessarily synergize with enchantments other than being enchantments themselves, ask around, ask anyone. These are staples within their colors. But even if you want to synergize with enchantments, there are some good constellation cards, such as Underworld Coinsmith and Doomwake Giant. Both of these I think are really cool, giving you an incentive to get more enchantments out there so that you can either get rid of all of your opponent's creatures or drain some life or force your opponents to lose life. I think that is a really cool thing. And Doomwake Giant is just impressive in this deck when you can just get enchantments out there with an activated ability. This is for all intents and purposes a board wipe in this deck. And speaking of Theros block, considering that is where Daxos is from, Theros, you're going to see a lot of cards in a Daxos deck that are from that Theros block because there's just so many good enchantment creatures that are considered both types, as well as enchantment artifacts. But two of my favorite are Archetype of Courage and Archetype of Finality. They both take away either First Strike or Death Touch from your opponent's creatures, and they give all of your creatures First Strike or Death Touch. So they're very good in combat, and they both will count as enchantment creatures, which is really sweet. And we also have the gods from Theros. Don't forget about those. Erebos, God of the Dead, Heliod, God of the Sun, and we also have Aetherios, although I wouldn't recommend him in this deck. He doesn't really synergize really well. But Erebos and Heliod will give you some good value. Heliod, especially in combat, giving them vigilance is nice. But more importantly, you have yet another way to make your deck more consistent, giving you more experience counters. And we have other cards too that aren't necessarily from that Theros block, but they do synergize with enchantments. Sigil of the Empty Throne and Celestial Ancient I think are really sweet. These work on cast, so they're a little bit different than Constellation, but I think that if you're going to make an enchantment deck, you should definitely consider these. And before I forget, you also have the Spear of Heliod and Whip of Erebos, both from the Theros block. These are also going to be considered enchantments, even though they're also artifacts, so these will also get you an experience counter, while also giving you some decent utility of their own. So now that we're done talking about all of that stuff, all of the synergies with enchantments, or at least most of them, we need a way to win with this type of deck. And it's not the easiest. This is a very simple, straightforward deck. You just try to get as many experience counters as you can and then take advantage of Daxos' ability, which to many people is boring, but there are ways that we can take advantage of it. It never hurts to throw out a good old Cathar's Crusade. If you have something that can get out multiple creatures in a turn, Cathar's Crusade is nothing but value. Gonna definitely add up when you also have a Celestial Ancient putting counters on your creatures. And if you want to stick with combat, there's really nothing better than True Conviction. Giving all of your creatures double strike and lifelink should set you up really well for the win. And there's also a Starfield of Nyx if you really want to make all of your enchantments creatures that are capable of swinging in combat. Starfield of Nyx is going to make your combat efforts even better. But really, if you're talking about combos, which this deck isn't going to have too many, look no further than Sanguine Bond and Exquisite Blood, because this is definitely a combo worth putting in this deck. Both are enchantments, and they're definitely going to put in their work. The only difficult thing is usually with this combo, you could have a way to gain some life and then start it off that way, so you're going to have to force an opponent to lose some life. And since this deck is very dependent on enchantments, you want a way to get some of those back from your graveyard. You could play the typical Auramancer, nothing special, just going to get you whatever you want really badly from your graveyard to your hand. If you are playing on a budget, you could go with Open the Vaults. I think this is definitely one that's going to bring back all of your enchantments. It doesn't really cost much of anything, really budget friendly, but if you aren't playing on a budget, I would highly recommend both Academy Rector and Replenish. Academy Rector doesn't really have anything to do with recursion, but it is going to be more expensive and necessary if you want an easier way to get out the Exquisite Blood Sanguine Bond combo, or just any good enchantment for that matter. Replenish is going to be a much cheaper and easier way of getting back your enchantments. So anyway guys, that's going to do it for this video. Let me know what you think about Commander tips or Commander secrets. I haven't settled on an official title yet, but I should do that soon. Daxos the Returned is incredibly underrated, and I can't recommend him enough. He's very new player friendly. He doesn't take much effort to really figure out, but he's also capable of surviving to the late game really well. Not a huge target on his back. As always, you guys have a wonderful day. Void here signing off. See you all next video.